Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. I'm so excited for this week's episode. It's with two of my favorite sex meme creators on the internet, on the planet. Love them as people. Love the stuff they put out into the world. The women behind the accounts Orgasmic and Slutty Girl Problems. Yeah, I know. It's going to be a great one. Our first guest is Arielle Kaplan, a quote-unquote content creator and quote-unquote BJ queen. By day, she writes at a Jewish media company, and by night, she makes sex memes for Orgasmic on Instagram and co-hosts 7 Minutes in Heaven, the sex news podcast. She's currently promoting Oral History, a new podcast about seductresses in history, from Cleopatra to Ursula. And our second guest today is Lorrae Jo, founder of Slutty Girl Problems and a sex, love, and empowerment coach whose work helps the erotically curious to overcome shame and navigate kink, poly, and queer identities. After founding Slutty Girl Problems to destigmatize sexuality and reclaim slut as an empowering term, she now focuses her efforts on supporting others with the tools for deep self-love and sensual embodiment. You can get Lorrae's free ebook on sex magic and sensual self-care on her website, LorraeJo.com, LORRAEJO.com, and join her on Instagram and OnlyFans at Lorrae Jo. I'm also still sitting here with my colleague. She has this new thing that she likes to sit near me. She just doesn't want to touch me, which is fine. You know what? Cats teach consent. They really do. And they teach you how to get boys. If you ignore them, they come to you. And if you respect their boundaries, they also cuddle with you more. So yeah, I don't mind, Grace. But do you want to say anything to everybody? Nope, not this time. She does not want to say anything. And that's fine. But let's start this episode. I'm so excited. Yay. Rate, review, subscribe, and go buy our new merch. If you want some really cool stuff, go to howcomepodcast.com. We have a whole new collection. It's called the Gizzney collection. It's modeled after Disney. Please don't tell on us because, we don't want it taken down. But go buy it. There's amazing things. There's a lot of cum puns. There's a pillow you can get. It's like where dreams come true. We should have advertised that last episode. We planned to, but I was too high and Gabrielle forgot to remind me. But yeah, let's go. I'm excited. Rate, review, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, How Come Podcast, and patreon.com/howcome if you want to see unedited versions of these episodes before they go out. I'm always procrastinating, but before I edit these episodes, I always put them on Patreon first. So if you're one of our patrons, you pay $5 a month for all the extras you could ever want in your life, including our post-coitus, which is an after show that Robin and Kennedy and I do, our intern in New Zealand, and it's a lot of fun, and you will love it. And we're thinking of changing the name to Aftercare. I don't know. Post-coitus sounds so clinical, and aftercare is so ooh, I don't know. Write in. Tell us what you think. Okay, here we go.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Okay, I'm so excited. I hope we don't fuck up, but we won't.
You're a pro. You've done so many of these.
But sometimes the ones that we're oh, this one's just going to be such a breeze and so easy, then I get all so I don't want to fuck up, but I don't think we will.
We're three hot, sexy bitches.
We're just hot, sexy bitches. Yes. Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right. You guys, I am so excited to have these two women. Please welcome Arielle and Lorrae.
Woo! So happy to be here.
See, Lorrae, you can't do those finger dances. That is not.
Oh, yay.
Yay. I'm so excited to have you guys here virtually. I feel like we've never been apart because I see your content constantly in the best of ways. It feeds me. It feeds our followers. You guys have two of my favorite meme accounts, Orgasmic and Slutty Girl Problems. Well, we repost you all the time because we don't have our own thoughts. But I just wanted to start out because our last two recordings, we haven't gotten the guests' first time coming stories. And I think our listeners are a little jizz thirsty.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's hard to remember the first time I came with a sex toy because that's the first time like I think I actually came. But I have my story of the first time I orgasmed with just my fingers. What do you call that? Like digitally. I was in Israel.
Validly.
Vaginally. And so I was in Israel and my mom took me to Paris for Passover.
Okay.
And obviously we didn't keep kosher for Pas because we needed the baguettes. And I remember my mom like stepped out, I think, to get those baguettes. And I was like, I'm so fucking horny because I was in Israel with all my classmates and I never had time to masturbate. I was a senior in high school. And so
baguettes are very, very phallic.
So I didn't use a baguette. I just used my fingers, and I orgasmed without porn, without a sex toy. And for me, that was the first, and I'll never forget it. I was like 17. And then the first time I orgasmed with a partner was like 2 weeks ago. Because I think I've grown exponentially. Yeah.
Oh my God, congrats! That's
huge! Thank you! It was actually with my ex-boyfriend, so it was pretty crazy.
Whoa. Oh, I mean, a lot of people are hooking up with exes again. It's not just you.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah.
How did he do it?
Well, I did it and he helped.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
He was fingering me and I was rubbing my clit. So like I need the clitoral stimulation to orgasm. So it was very much a dual effort, but I
love a good like masturbatory assist. There's something so satisfying about that.
Same.
Yeah, it was dope. So
also, like, I know we always really like talk about how important the clit is, and it is, but nobody talks about like sometimes it's just nice to have another person get in real deep from that angle that you can't get to.
Yes.
I don't like fingering myself.
I feel like the cervix really does it for me, like, and I can't reach that angle. And there's also something about the mystery of not knowing what they're going to do sometimes that's really a turn on.
The suspense.
Yeah.
Unless they're really fucking it up.
I was going to say, to me, I'm not there yet where I'm like, ooh, the mystery. I'm kind of just like, even though love Ben, whatever, I'm still like just expecting jackhammer or go in too quickly or what, like, and not approach with as much caution as I would like.
I'm kind of an anomaly because I love being jackhammered. I'm like, harder, harder, harder. And they're like, I can't go any harder. I'm like, oh.
Same. I'm like, break me in half. I want to be bruised and like limping away from this ordeal.
I like that sometimes. I would say it's not even such an anomaly. It's like a lot of people like a few orgasms on my own and then get pounded to death.
Yeah. I also think there's a difference between like mindfully going to that place versus some guys where it's like the only move they know and it's just 0 to jackhammer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
What was your first time coming like?
Yeah. So growing up, I had a long distance boyfriend when I was like 14, 15. I never met in person. We solely knew each other through like this platform where we just had little avatars, not even like our photos.
MySpace?
But we like exchanged.
Club Penguin?
It was called like Palace, and you had like a little avatar in rooms and stuff. And we met on that and then exchanged phone numbers and started having phone sex a lot. And we had like a BDSM dynamic going. So I was like super kinky, super young.
Wait, how young again? Sorry.
I was like 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old was
hot.
he?
I think like 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
But since we had never met, we're not sure.
No, we like exchanged Facebooks and stuff at a certain point. Yeah, no, we like know who each other are now.
Okay. Because like on the 10th episode of this podcast, I had my friend Lisa on and she's telling me about her first time. And she was like, yes, this guy, she's French. She's like, it's this guy. And like, I saw one picture from AOL and we were talking and I was like, how do you know that's him? She's like, I don't. Like, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, we've ended up like video chatting since then. I like
Okay,
learned
okay.
about the whole catfish thing.
Okay.
So
Woo!
yeah, but
He's a real person.
it was kind of cool because we would be having phone sex and I would always get myself up to that edge. And then one night he was just like, keep going. And I was like, no, I want to stop. Like, I'm nervous. It's like kind of sensitive. And he was like, no, you're right there. And was like kind of coaching me to keep going. And yeah, I ended up orgasming for the first time. I was like,
oh my God.
That's a great story.
Like one of my kinks.
I love him. That. Yeah, he's great.
Where is he now?
I think he was like in Indiana. Very different lives from.
So you were able to get yourself off with him, and then did you take that into like your own life and like do it alone too?
I think that there was a little piece because it was from phone sex and with a partner the first time. I started to get this idea that it was always a performative thing and that I was doing it to get somebody else off or like over moaning and overacting to try to like elicit their response. So it took me a while to actually be like, this is how my body naturally responds to itself when I'm not trying to please someone else. And then that was a big shift I had to make.
Wow. Do you guys know who Betty Dodson is?
Yeah.
So her like starting out masturbating was her partner was like, masturbate in front of me, let's do it mutually, which I feel like, I mean, you did it over the phone, but the way that she took that was more like, oh, I'm empowered now to masturbate for myself. And for you, it's different. It was like, I masturbated for somebody else. So it's interesting how you like diverted, but then, so you, I mean, your slutty girl problems, like you do know how to have pleasure for yourself now. Like how long did that take for you to get to that space?
Yeah, I think like years. I mean, I was definitely having orgasms, but a lot of the times it was overperformed orgasms. And yeah, I don't even think I was really masturbating a lot until maybe after I graduated college and started to explore my body, like separate from the hookup culture and separate from, and it's still a journey. It's still a journey.
I love hearing that though, from especially like people like us who are like, people are like guru, expert. And it's like, no, there's really no such thing. It's like your own journey. And like, but I was going to say, it's kind of funny because the name Slutty Girl Problems and the word slut, I mean, a lot of us, we grew up with that being like a negative word and stuff. And then even when I was trying to recontextualize it, or not even recontextualize, when I was trying to explain what I meant when I called somebody a slut, it was like, you're not having the sex for yourself. Like, what the slutty part of it is like you're doing it for someone else, you know, or like to seem like I would make out with girls for other people and not really experience for myself. Like if a girl was making out with another girl for herself and it was in the room or whatever, I'd be like, get it, you know? Yeah. But if it was like in front of a guy, especially a guy that I thought was hot, I'd be like slut, you know, like something that if you're using it for a power and also you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, that's so interesting because there's definitely a lot of people that feel that way about that word and feel like it's disempowering and that it would never be an empowering word for them. And I think even when I first started Slutty Girl Problems, it was really to reclaim that as an empowering term, but it was mostly to just take the power away from how degrading and mean and painful it could be. And now as I've kind of gone further along on that journey, I like more celebrate my sluttiness and my wildness and like the kind of quote unquote crazy aspects of my sexuality. And it feels like it kind of turns it around on its head and does give me power. But it was a conscious rewriting of those disempowering messages.
Right.
And how performative our sexuality is. And then even like when I started an OnlyFans, it's like, well, what part of this is performative? What part is me? And what part of being performative is something that I actually like? Because I love being like the slut on stage. Like I'm a total exhibitionist. And like that can be authentic and also performative and teasing all those pieces out.
My nickname was Nudist when I was little.
Yeah, totally.
Are you into cuckolding?
Cuckolding. That's so interesting. I don't think I'm into cuckolding. And I didn't think I was into cuck queening until I dated somebody that was. And then I was like, yes, degrade me and sleep with someone in front of me all the time. And I don't know. It was never my thing. But sometimes someone just clicks an interest in you.
Sometimes it's like, oh, it's more comfortable with this person too. It's like you wouldn't have wanted to with another person. And orgasmic also. Redefining whore. So like what would your definitions be for slut and whore?
I see whore and slut as the same. And just like reclaiming it, eliminating the negativity on it. I view a slut and a whore as someone who is sex positive. And I don't think that you necessarily need to sleep with a ton of people to be a slut or a whore. Someone who's just like unabashedly sexual and likes to talk about it and is confident in it. I think I used to think like, oh, if someone has a boyfriend, like they're not a slut, they're not hooking up with a lot of people. But it's not about how many bodies are in like your notepad.
The sluttiest you can be sometimes is in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're having more sex. And that's what it's all about. And orgasmic, it's funny because I'm now sort of becoming like a Jewish influencer by accident on my personal page.
I know.
And I was thinking, I'm like, I want to rebrand. Maybe do like a page. Thank you. Maybe do a Patreon like the horny Jewess. And my dad was like, that is so vulgar, Arielle. Like, no, talk to your brothers.
Oh,
and they're like, let's do Sidor Smut. Thank you. And because the horny part is like
Smut. Seder Playgirl.
Seder Playgirl. That's so good. Ooh, I gotta save that for later. But yeah, Jews like have a stereotype of like having horns, so I'm like horny Jewess. And my dad's like, orgasmic is adorable. Horny Jewess. I didn't understand why my dad thought orgasmic was cute and horny Jewess was not, because he's not even really in touch with this Judaism. So I don't know. Even men have like different perceptions of like horny, orgasmic, and whatever. But I don't know.
Well, it's interesting that you bring him up, though, too, because a lot, like I had companions submit questions for you guys, and a lot of them were like, how do your parents feel about what you're doing? Which is like a question I get a lot. And I'm always like, well, my dad feels it's really good because he's like a science guy and like there's a lot of science involved. But I do think about if there wasn't science involved, would it still be as, I mean, there's not going to not be science involved. It's orgasms, it's your body.
Yeah, and I feel like in anything, science, psychology is always involved when you're talking about people. For me, my dad, both of my parents are therapists, and they aren't on social media for like their own anonymity. Yeah. And I don't worry about them seeing my like finger in the butt memes and shit, but they're very proud that I can like make money off of this. And I just started freelancing, and part of the reason I'm able to do that is because my dad is supporting me a little bit. So if he knew like everything I was doing, he would be very, very upset. So he's not going to listen to this podcast.
Honestly, thank you very much for admitting that, because I think a lot of content creators do come from a background of somebody else helping them. I know I would never have been able to do this podcast if I was not living with my grandmother, if my parents were not giving me money, you know what I mean? Like, and I do think that that's an important thing to call out sometimes, because a lot of these influencers, it's just like, I just became this way, and it's like,
yeah, it's not realistic.
That's not really fair for the other people who want to be like you.
I think people also really overestimate how much we're making. Like having enough followers does not mean you're making a livable income from it. We are all side hustlers.
Yeah. These are charities.
Passion project.
Seriously. I always say nobody got paid on the How Come team until this year. Nobody.
But that's amazing. Woo! Good for everyone.
Woo!
That's super good. Yeah. You have a whole ass team. What, you're 2 years old, or almost 3?
We're 3, yeah.
Wow. Oh my God, that's
a little toddler.
Thanks. But yeah, how do your parents feel about it?
My parents are super disappointed and don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But that's okay. I mean, they're disappointed in like a lot in my life. No, not, I don't mean to like bring the vibe down. Like it just doesn't bother me anymore. it's kind of been like a process of me really, really realizing like, this is my truth. This is what I want to do. And at a certain point, I'm financially stable. I'm not dependent. So it really doesn't matter what somebody else thinks of me. Even though it's unfortunate, I've kind of reframed it like, it's really unfortunate that they don't get to enjoy their kid.
Yes.
Not that I don't have a parent that doesn't support me.
100%.
Like you're missing out on an awesome human.
100%. I don't think that brings the vibe down at all. My friend Sydney Washington, she was a guest season 2, and she recently tweeted this thing that was heartbreaking, but also really thrilling and like empowering. And it was that her mom had called her to say that she was an embarrassment because she was gay, or a joke or whatever. And she was like, years ago, that would have really hurt me, but I support myself. I pay my own bills. I have my own family now. Like, I've chosen my own family. And it was
That's
so like
100% how I feel. Yeah. And you really have that power as an adult to get out of the house and be able to assert your humanity, explore that however you want, or just given these pre-programmed scripts of how we're supposed to live, whether it's our career, our sexuality, or even patterns and beliefs that we have. And we get the choice to be like, that doesn't jive with me and my mindset and my life, and I'm going to do it different.
Did you come to this realization on your own, or were you in therapy?
Oh God, I'm in like therapy constantly.
Okay, good. I was about to be very, very jealous of your self-actualization.
Then this is the very like processed version after like years of doing like the tears and being in the muck with it. But it's important. I think it's a process that we all have to go through. Even if you have a great relationship with your parents, there's always those little things that you have to unwrite, particularly around sexuality, just because they grew up in a different era and a whole different world where they're viewing sex totally different.
I remember even my mom, when she was telling me about how her mom told her about sex, like she would be like, my mom told me if you have sex before marriage, no one's going to want you. And obviously that's not true. But even her telling me that, I was like, well, maybe you just weren't good.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I've gotten a lot of surprisingly negative messaging about being poly, which surprised me. And I was in a poly relationship with 2 men for quite some time, and everyone was happy and consenting with the arrangement. But there was definitely this stigma of like, as the woman with 2 boyfriends, like you're an abuser, or a manipulator, or a seductress. And like none of that was accurate. But yeah, and I would imagine it's the same if you see like a guy with 2 girlfriends, there's this negative image that, oh, the girls can't consent to that. There's no way. And that has been strange to navigate, but again, you navigate it away from the family, which is fine. I did bring like my 2 boyfriends over to Christmas though, and that was like pretty funny.
What? I can't. How did you do that? Based on everything you said, did your parents combust?
Yeah, it was like my whole extended family. I was like, everyone's just gonna have to be okay with that. Like, you have to set a second plate. Like, we got 2 now.
That's amazing.
I was like, we can all come or no one can come.
Are you still with them or?
No, I'm quarantine potting with my one that is an ex though.
Oh, speaking of jizz, you guys, we launched an amazing merch collection. It's called the Gizzney collection.
What?
Yeah, because
pretty good.
And it's all just plays on like, the things we know and love from Disney, but we've given them a little nice how come twist. So instead of someday my prince will come, it's someday my prince will come, but first I will.
This is like comedy gold. That's fantastic.
Thank you. But I feel like I grew up watching all those Disney things and just being like everything is going to be okay when a guy comes into my life. That's when I'm going to come. That's when I'm going to have money. That's when I'm going to be beautiful finally. And so we're just trying to rewrite that narrative and go to howcomepodcast.com for the merch, you bitches. It's so good.
I love that ethos too. I feel like so many of us hold that into adulthood too, where we just think that the perfect relationship is going to save us when ultimately we save ourselves.
Or that like you're not going to find sexual satisfaction unless you're with another person. Like we were saying, like unless it's like kind of performative.
Yeah.
Which is like
That's
you
why we all
spend
need to
so
masturbate.
much time alone. Yeah.
Totally. I've been in so many relationships too where my partner wasn't into what I was into. So I would just put all my desires on the shelf and never bring it up again. And it was so sexually unfulfilling.
Okay,
That's
I
upsetting.
have a big question for you guys.
Yeah.
In a heterosexual relationship, what do you do when a guy really doesn't think that pussy eating is for him?
You break up with it? No, I'm just kidding. You
You could, but
contextualize
it's
it.
like,
Say,
you
would
know,
you
do
like me to not ever suck your dick? Like, for some reason, I think that like blowjobs were like this thing that was like, yeah, you give blowjobs. And then pussy eating was like, well, some guys do that, but they're like simps.
I thought those were like knights in shining armor that like only, you know, if you, that was like my Prince Charming. I feel if you went down on me, it's like holy fuck. And sometimes I would get surprised when someone would go down on me. I'm like, oh my god, are you sure? Like,
Yeah.
I haven't showered since yesterday. Like, is this okay? And with other guys, because I'm only now just like, the reason I was able to orgasm with my ex is because during COVID, I had like a sex break and I just learned how to be confident sexually and comfortable. But before that, it was like, now I feel like I would not be with someone who wouldn't go down on me. But I was with someone sort of recently who was like, it's just not really for me to be comfortable for the girl. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I would never want to pressure you into doing something you don't like. But I feel, you know, not every girl likes to give head.
Right.
And not every guy likes to do it either. But to refuse it is like, am I pushing you to do something you don't want to do? Or
I feel like it's totally valid for you to have that preference and also valid for another person to have their preference. And like personally, I don't like people going down on me. It just doesn't do anything for me. So in that case, like I work better with guys that aren't into that. And I've dated guys that love doing that. And I'm like, it's not really my thing. And like, we're just not super compatible. But then I think that there's also a responsibility on men to examine, or anyone that's going down on women to examine why that might be uncomfortable for them. Like, is it a stigma, or like, are they grossed out about it or nervous about it? Because if they're having their own blocks that are coming up, but if they've examined it and it's like genuinely their preference, then yeah, that's on them.
Do you have headphones on?
No, I don't have headphones on.
You need headphones.
Okay.
I knew we were going to fuck it up somehow.
I'm glad that you caught it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Time to stretch. Go for a walk.
shut the
Or
fuck
call a
up.
friend.
Who's that?
Alexa.
Text Ben.
What do you want to say?
Order weed, please. Yeah, he's an Australian man. I like to be reminded that I have like a hot guy in my pocket willing to do whatever for me. I was rewatching this thing on our Patreon, which was a compilation of videos. I used to do like video blogs instead of diarying when like a photo booth came out. And one of them, I just struck me so hard because I was like, I want to go fuck Michael tonight, but like I'm really stubbly and that's a problem. And if it wasn't such a problem, I would have been a lot bigger slut in high school. So I guess I'm thankful for that, but I could have had a boyfriend too. So like, wait, what? Like,
What's your relationship with your leg hair now?
I love it.
I love it
and it
too.
wasn't
I
about
like
my leg hair. It was about my
hairy
vagina
legs.
hair. If it was leg hair, I would
Oh.
have been like, oh, I can shave that
Okay.
immediately. But vagina hair was going to get ingrowns. And remember early pubes when like just trying to maintain it was like so uncomfortable?
I don't even remember getting my first hairs. I think when I got one, I probably immediately like plucked it out.
Did we lose you, Remy?
Yeah, Remy, you've been freezing.
I still like hanging out with you all.
No worries, dude.
I know, but I knew this was
Yeah.
going to happen. I was like, oh, it's going to be so fucking easy.
Yawning. Did anybody smoke before this?
I did.
No.
I didn't either, because Remy, I didn't think that you would, and Lorrae, I'm happy that you did. I thought about it, because I was getting so nervous. I was like,
I've actually been microdosing a ton since I've been in quarantine and loving it. My productivity when I microdose and my creativity is like through the roof. I'll like clean my whole house. It's been wild.
What is that?
Weed
Microdosing with what?
With acid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Cool. I was like, there is no microdosing with weed.
No.
That's called being a loser.
I microdosed with weed and cleaned my whole house.
I did clean my whole
what?
house high the other day, and somebody wrote me and they were like, "High cleaning, I love it." And I was like, yeah, high everything.
Yeah.
I'm always high. I'm just not right now. But also, hey, anybody who's under 18, don't do acid, okay? Like, just don't do any hard drugs until like
Drugs are
you're
bad.
done with your learning. No, but legit.
I
Like,
did a lot
do
of
all
drugs.
the fun stuff when your brain is formed.
Even after my brain
That's
is
when you're
formed, I'm
25.
pretty sure that like it looks like Swiss cheese now. I've really like torn it to shreds over the years.
Me too. I like Molly way too much.
Yeah.
I was going to say I lost a year of my life because I was just like at raves.
Same. I think I kind of still do that.
Okay.
I work it into my brand though, so that I'm like, look, I get to be a techno slut.
Yeah. Okay, wait. No, so you said, what's your relationship with your leg hair now? Love my leg hair, have grown out my leg hair and my pit hair and quarantine because A, it's quarantine, B, I was in Portland for 4 months, and C, I'm a fucking feminist, and fuck you if you don't like my body. I don't like shaving it every day. It's itchy.
It's so annoying. Like there's so much surface area on a leg.
There's so much. I bought a razor and I used an entire head on just my vagina the other day.
Wow.
Like it was done after. But I also just did that for me, FYI.
At Manscaped, this is not an advertisement for them, but their razors are so good because they're like made for
Really?
balls, but for the vagine lips.
I can't imagine having balls. That would just like scare me. They seem so delicate.
It's so scary. Whenever I see them biking, I'm like, are you okay? Like genuinely scared.
The
for
balls themselves are biking.
I got my first city bike and the seat is super hard. I went for my first ride. It was like a 30-minute ride. My labia swelled up to like the size of a coconut. Like I'm not kidding. I had to put like ice packs and like peas and edamame all over my vagina, and then I got so
did
bad
he
I put
call you the
cortisone
next day?
cream. I know. Like he just
Like-
sits there and does nothing but hurt me.
That's a
So
good
funny.
bit.
Yeah, the worst relationship with a bike.
With balls too, I always think about, I'm like, what do they do with them when they poop? I know now because I've asked like several of them, but I used to be like, what do they do? They just like dip in the water? Like, do you like poop on your own
They're
balls?
not that
Like,
long.
I know. I didn't know.
I actually looked up the definition of taint the other day on Urban Dictionary, and it literally said the space between a man's asshole and balls so he doesn't poop on them. Literally, that's like the top. Yeah.
But we have taints too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
taint
so we
the
don't-
front, taint the back. So we don't poop in our vagina
Do you guys ever get scared you're gonna get poop in your vagina?
all the time.
All the time.
All the time. One of my mom's biggest things that she told me was like, wipe front to back. Like, she's like, if you take nothing else from me, wipe front to back. And I was like, you got it, Mom. But then I also like had like a little rebellious thing where I did wipe back to front once just to be like, I wonder what it's like. And like, it's not fun.
Got like a wicked UTI.
You mean from the butthole up or just from the pee hole up?
From the butthole. Because like some people.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Shame, shame, shame.
Okay, I was 6.
I'm going to propose the technique of like do just butthole and then put that in the toilet and then do just vagina. Separate the two so that there's not even like a
Yes.
mix.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
My mom never told me. She didn't tell me fucking shit. She didn't want me to ever shave my hair, use make. I guess she wanted me to be a raging feminist. And
Yeah.
just be like my glorious, beautiful self. So everyone else taught me these things, but I only just started I only just started wiping the right way this year with like my vagina.
Wait,
and, like,
why
maybe
are
that's
you
why I was getting so
shaming
many yeast
me?
infections.
How have you been wiping?
No, because I haven't been wiping poop into my vagina. Like I was doing what was it? You're supposed to wait. Now I don't even remember the right way to do it. Do you do
take
down
your arm
or up?
behind you and you start. How do you poop?
Yeah, no, I do it this
just
way.
a lot. I go from
I
the
do it that
front,
way.
but I separate both, like,
Yeah,
because I can't
a white
reach.
wipe, and then I do it with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a lot of ladies will like stand up. Is this what you do, Remy? You stand up and then you go like that.
No,
like, how
no.
are you
I
so
never stand up.
flexible?
I feel like then your cheeks
I'm
would
flexible.
hit.
That's why.
Yeah, you don't want to stand up and then it gets smushed like a sandwich.
Or like you stand up and like the pee dribbles down your leg.
Yeah.
That's
This is going to be such a pleasant episode. I love it.
I told you we were gonna fuck up. No.
Where else can you talk about wiping technique?
Hey guys, if you like this episode, leave a review and share how you wipe your asshole.
Yeah. Rate, review, and subscribe, and then tell us how you wipe.
Can you make that a poll on your Instagram?
I'm gonna make it a T-shirt. The next collection is rate, review, subscribe, tell us how you
With
wipe.
like a Disney princess.
Yes. Yeah. No. So, I do though want to go back to like the like
Sex
hairy and slutty conversation, or it's not even hairy, but it's like not wanting to be a slut in high school, but also wanting to be good at sex was like a big thing for me. Did you guys have that same vibe, or were you comfortable?
I definitely felt like within a partnership was the only okay way to explore. And I still struggle with that now. Like, I love casual sex and some of my best encounters have been, but getting up to that point before I have casual sex, I self-criticize and shame and doubt myself a lot. And I feel like, yeah, I definitely want it to be like the best in bed, but like only for one person. And now I'm expanding more to be adventurous with others, because I feel like for me personally, you can learn a lot in a relationship, but I also love learning how others do things and trying new things and new fantasies.
And also, what's the best in bed? Because I used to think of the best in bed was like, you were such a good hole. You know, they could just fuck your hole and have
that sounds really hot, though. I think I'm like into that now.
But that's great if you are. But I don't think I am.
Yeah.
I think what I always wanted was Disney. I wanted to be treated sweetly. I wanted somebody to look at me and fall in love with me and be like, I think I saw you once upon a dream. You know, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, like to the point that when I lost my virginity, or I made my sexual debut, I did that with a guy that I was hooking up with, not dating, and I kept it secret for a year because I didn't think it was respectable to be like,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Are you a boyfriend girl?
I love love.
I love love.
I love love.
I love that. You're so interesting to me, Remy, because, and not that you are unique in this world for it, but you're like, because you're so sarcastic and dry and blunt, I think that's very opposite of like mushy love, like very caring.
It's a
but
facade.
you combine
I'm weak.
you combine both of them, and I think that's really beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Like if I didn't know you, I would think
I cried to Linger by the Cranberries for years because boys didn't like me.
I really resonate with that too, because I really enjoy love and I love being a slut too. But I actually feel like I'm the most slutty when I'm in a relationship, not just with that person, but then I feel safer to explore other partnerships and like explore poly. And then when I'm solo poly, I like get all nervous because I'm just like out by myself and like in the world alone. And yeah.
But I think all of these different types of relationships besides heteronormative ones are the ones where a lot of better communication happens because they weren't given that blueprint of like this, who's the man and who's the lady and who's the provider and who's the mom and who's, whatever. It's like really people figuring out what's good for them, what they're good at, what what their role can be for other people.
I think this is so interesting, especially when it comes up, like when people think about cheating, even in a monogamous relationship, someone might think that it's cheating to go talk to somebody else at the bar or flirt or have like a work wife or flirt on a business trip. And, you know, for other people, they don't care at all. And that can create a lot of tension. But when you're poly, it's like all of those little things are negotiated and explored, because like maybe I don't want to see you flirt in front of me at a bar, even if we are poly, or maybe I love that and that turns me on, and then finding all of those nuances.
Or maybe I'm feeling differently today, but then we have a conversation today instead of just being like, let's listen to our forefathers who put these like laws in place. Like that's not the best.
I like that what you were just saying with when people aren't given that heteronormative script, they have to start from scratch. And studies show that lesbians have way more orgasms than heterosexual couples because
No, lesbians, to me, when I was like learning about them in health class, I was like, these poor women, they love each other, but they can never have sex, you know? And if they are having sex, then one of them is wearing something that's fake and they can never really, really connect or whatever. And it was like, bitch, you're wrong, because lesbians are getting off constantly, because it's not all about whole.
Also, there's no refractory period too. Like you can just roll around and keep having that excitement going long after the first orgasm, where when a guy comes, I mean, maybe you'll get a couple, like another session if you're lucky, but that's kind of the end of the end of the show.
It's always nice when they do it a second time, though. You feel really like accomplished.
Oh yeah,
I do, at least.
I totally
when
do.
Like he does it and then he keeps going and I'm like, you are obsessed with me.
Such an ego boost. I love it.
Yeah.
Wait, I wanted to say though, in high school for me, and I think this is like because I had such low self-confidence. I was like always fat. My parents divorced when I was 8, and I went to fat camp when I was in 8th grade, so going into freshman year. I lost all this weight. All my guy friends were obsessed with me. I went to a small Jewish day school, so there were only like 40 kids in the grade, so we were all very tight-knit. And to me, I was like, I'm collecting attention, so I kept my note in my phone of like every guy I hooked up with, and I just wanted it to get bigger and bigger. So I made out with all of my friends, and then they stopped wanting to be friends with me because I made out with their friends, and it was bad. And I now, after years in therapy, like understand that I push people away and hook up with their friends when I'm feeling like we are becoming too close and I feel super vulnerable. And so I act out, and I'm not so obsessed with like getting people on that list anymore because I'm more confident in myself. And even if I like weighed the same, it doesn't matter what I look like anymore to me, because I'm just confident. And I don't know, this past year has been so crazy with me. I think making Orgasmic itself has empowered me. And like you were saying before,
I've watched you grow. I knew you before Orgasmic. Like, it blows my mind how much you've blown up and how much you've grown, like from a business perspective and like a personal perspective.
Thank you, dude.
So much. Yeah, the journey of creating your own content, I feel like we teach what we most need to learn ourselves, and it kind of prompts us to go deeper into our own journey.
And I used to
what we all did.
I used to keep a list too, and I thought of it as, you know, this validates me. When guys think I'm hot enough to hook up with, like that means something good about me. And
exactly,
I was telling this story to somebody the other so I was like a huge makeout slut or whatever, terrified of penises, didn't know my own vagina, but like loved kissing because kissing's so romantic. And when I was a rising 9th grader, everybody said I was going to be a really hot 9th grader. Like the upperclassmen were like, oh my God, she's so hot. We can't wait for her to be a 9th grader because then we can hook up with her. Because like that was like,
oh my God,
the age, I guess, like that it was okay that they were in high school. And so I was so excited. I'm in 9th grade. It's my first month. I pregame homecoming with the hot junior boys. I get so shithoused because I'm trying to keep up with them. And then the runt / loser, hate to say it, but of their friend group, took advantage of me. Basically, I was like too drunk, and he was making out with me in front of everybody or whatever. Like when I should have just been brought home. Like I ended up having like throwing up so much and like having alcohol poisoning and shit. But then the worst part of that all was on Monday, my nickname in high school was now Enron because my stocks had plummeted.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, creative, but terrible.
Is that not the most Upper East Side private school, like, fucking insult you could give somebody? And so then I had to be called Enron for a few weeks. But what I did to make it stop was hook up with the guy who started it.
Where was he on, like, the social
He was
scale?
the cool one. He was the cool junior, and he was like, oh, like, they were all like, oh, our loser friend. You hooked up with our loser friend, so that makes you worthless. And then I only gained my coolness again when I was like, hey, I'm going to let you finger me.
Wow.
I did.
I will allow you to finger me.
Mm-hmm.
And now my stocks are up. That's a great
really
story.
is.
And I cannot believe that nickname.
Isn't that insane?
I feel like there's so
Enron?
much to like piece out of that, like the social ramifications of our sexuality. It's powerful.
No, but of somebody else taking advantage
Oh
of it.
yeah, absolutely.
So like not only like I wouldn't have hooked up with him.
I mean, it's like daddy issues
not
too. Like
cute.
we make fun of a girl for having daddy issues instead of putting the blame on the people that are abandoning and abusing us.
Yes. Wait, was that your meme the other day?
Not mine, but I've seen
There
that
was
going
one-
around.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What was it?
I only speak in memes now. When I try to make people understand things, I'm like, there's a great meme about looting. There's a great meme about daddy issues, but it literally is like daddy issues. It's making fun of the people instead of the people who abuse, like make fun of the dads.
Yeah.
It's like you have bad dad issue.
That was actually a big part of why I created Slutty Girl Problems too. The first time that I had sex, I was raped, and it was in college, and I left the room, and a bunch of boys had been listening outside the door.
Oh my
and
God.
called me a slut as soon as I walked out. And then I had never even had sex before, so I kind of reclaimed my power by going. I was like, fine, I'm already the chewed up piece of gum. I had believed that whole ethos, and then was like, all right, I'm already like a popped balloon, so I might as well just sleep with everyone. Slept with everyone.
Crumpled flower.
Yeah, and kind of felt like I was gaining my empowerment through my sexuality, and it was complicated to unravel. But yeah, that was a big piece of creating Slutty Girl Problems, is reclaiming that, taking the power away, but also like, why aren't we allowed to be slutty? Why was that a bad thing in general?
Right.
Makes us too powerful as women. The patriarchy loses us.
It's very confusing. I mean, like, and we always have to differentiate. It's not men, it's the patriarchy, which is a system, but it does confuse me. We're not threatened by them fucking many people. I mean, unless we're dating them. Like, I've never been like, I had a boyfriend who, because he was like a college athlete and a high school athlete, he'd like fucked in the hundreds. And I was so proud of that. I was like, look how many people liked my boyfriend before me. And now I have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys remember those apps or Lulu or some shit like that?
And
where
he was on it and he had a horrible rating and he did deserve it.
My ex is on it too, and he has a really, really bad thing. He was like, people said that like I don't brush my teeth, and I'm like, you literally
don't. I've never heard of this.
I don't.
You rate men on it, and so it's like, I guess, to help other girls like know what's there.
Wow.
And
yeah, and if it existed for women, it would be like,
well, that was Facebook.
That was honestly, that was everything else. That was College ACB. That was Juicy Campus. I don't know if you had
Juicy
those
Campus.
ones. But College
ACB,
my freshman year roommate got called a cum dumpster by like many people. But yeah, Lulu was crazy. But Lulu, I think it wasn't to talk shit on them. It was to warn girls about other guys.
Yes, that's the difference between when it's
or also to uplift
like
them.
that's totally the difference.
Or to
when it's
uplift.
about,
Yeah, no, some of my guy friends did have really nice ratings.
because like if it's
They
about
were like,
women,
he loves
it's
his
just
mom.
like, you know, degrading how we look, or like who gave a bad blowjob or something. And then for us, it's like literal safety. Yeah, the difference is shocking.
I've been reading this book about seductresses, and so I have this podcast now, Oral History on Seductresses, and like what I've been finding with all these women is, back to the book. In the beginning of it, it just talks about 25,000 years before there was a male deity, like God was a woman, and the seductress came about because men turned the woman into a femme fatale and was trying to take away the matriarchy and in place put the patriarchy, and the patriarchy fucking sucks, and that's why we have to take back our like seductress power. And
does the
be as sexual
matriarchy
as we
not
want.
suck? And I only ask that because
No.
I'm not super familiar with matriarchal societies, and in my feminist equals equalist brain, like I don't want to have any ist or archy. I want it to be like a people-archy, or you know what I mean?
I think that because the time in which the matriarchy was available, like we don't know what that would look like today. And I agree with you. It's like there shouldn't be any gender like as the head of it, but I do feel like the matriarchy, or I want to think that men were worshiping her as just like, you know, give us rain, give us love, not in a war, and like there was no caste system and it wasn't evil. It was just like, oh yeah, we're praying to this bitch because she's, you know, she makes life good for us. But again, I can't really say because I don't know what that would look like, but I do know that anything is better than the patriarchy as it stands today.
Yeah, no, the one thing there was a matriarchal society that I had read about. It was in like Central America or something, and it was very community based raising of children, which I'm not saying is every matriarchal society, but I think in an ideal world, and in a world that like would be nice to live in, is like we all take care of each other, you know, and like parents don't fuck you up because you have other parents that you can go to if you have other interests.
Yeah, I think in this world, I mean, it's really hard to imagine fucking anything like with all our technology and stuff, and everyone wanting to be an individual and being like, well, I'm a unique person because of the way my parents brought me up. And then if you have the entire community raising you, well, then maybe America wouldn't be America. It would be a much better place. Probably.
But, and then
where people aren't
like
competing.
A tiny little capitalist, which I think a lot of us were raised to be, I always have this like trigger being like, but if it's not capitalist, will we still make progress? And like, yeah.
We just won't care about
I think
money.
that we would actually maybe progress more because under capitalism, so many of us are stuck just trying to survive that we can't innovate and create. And if we actually had some more means, we would be able to spend that time to innovate. Yeah.
That's why, I mean, like I've, and we're veering off and we'll go back to sex. Don't you guys worry. We'll talk about wiping your butts again. But like
I think that there's also a piece of that too. Like, I get trapped in this concept that I constantly need to be working or creating, or even if I'm self-caring, that it has to be for the value of me just recharging so that I can be back in the capitalist machine, especially with social media and running your own creative projects. But again, parsing out like, well, what is actually for me and what's me like forcing myself to try to meet this goal of like, you know, happiness is a certain number in my bank account or a certain level in my career versus just being happy with the now. Yeah.
Or a certain relationship style. Yeah. I saw a meme recently that was like, stop being jealous of stuff that you don't want. And it released me so much because I know that there's a bunch of stuff we're supposed to want or we're told to want. But if you don't want that, that's okay. that's so freeing. And it can be as small as something like when I was dating my ex, I remember his friend bought his girlfriend a Louis Vuitton bag. And I was like, you've never bought me, which I've never wanted one. I've never wanted
also
one.
Me coming to terms with that I don't want kids and owning that has been liberating. Because for years I was like, kind of falling in this, well, maybe one day because I'm supposed to, and everybody else does, and I should want it. And now I'm like, you know what, I don't, and that's fine. It's totally fine.
And now you have, I mean, I don't know if you felt this way, but I always thought, well, of course women need to be younger to look more desirable because men only want us if we can make a baby or whatever. And now it's like, well, if adoption is on the table for me, or if not having baby is on the table for me, then why should I care about this hypothetical guy that won't like me when I'm 50 if I happen to be single then? Like, it kind of takes off the timeline.
Like, I feel no pressure to even get married now unless it was like somehow financially in my benefit.
I don't know what that journey for you is like, because I don't envision a man in my future. I can only think about my children, and people keep asking me like what I want my wedding to look like, and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even feel like I'm gonna get married. All I know is if I don't have a partner, then when I'm like 34, I'll like have a child on my own. And to like know that I want that. But for you, like, having to fight against what everyone in the world is saying that women must do must have been so difficult, and I think that's amazing.
I feel like you must face that as well, because there's a stigma that you shouldn't raise a kid on your own, or that we somehow can't, or that, and I disagree with that entirely. Like, I think
why
it's
would you
so
do that?
empowering.
I guess so. Yeah, you're right. I guess because my mom's a badass single mom. I mean, both my parents, I guess, are single parents, whatever, but I was raised with such a feminist outlook, even though my dad is not feminist, that I guess I don't have that problem. But I've also always had my family's support, and I really admire both of you guys for doing things that your family does not totally support and killing it. Like, you're so successful. That's crazy.
See, I mean, like, they've always been financially supportive, and they've always, because of the science aspect, been like, like, this is, and both of my parents are very hypersexual people, so they're like, oh, girl, you're not having orgasms, like, you need to figure that out, like, they think that that's important and less embarrassing than my comedy career. But
but it's not like the traditional career that they
but
wanted
also
for you.
My mom has said, even with all the success, ooh, maybe you'll become a doctor now, like, it's still maybe a different track. And it's like, okay, well, maybe, but that was also a year ago. And recently she said to me the other day, because I was like, yeah, like, I'm not having kids for a while. And she goes, and I will never be one of those mothers that forces you to.
Wow.
Or like that asks you where my grandkid is. And I was one, like, aw, and two, like, well, now you have 3 grandkids already, so like, you don't need
pressure's
me.
off.
So also, I just had a question. Did you guys develop early physically?
I did, yeah. I got my period in like 5th grade, and I had like boobs in 2nd grade.
Same. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we all just turn out the way we turn out, you guys. It has nothing to do with anything.
I mean, I remember actually running around on the playground when I was 5, and I would chase boys and try to kiss them, which, I mean, in retrospect, very not consensual behavior, but it was like a joke that I would develop early and like be sexual. I feel like it was kind of part of my identity growing up, like wanting to kiss every boy on the playground.
Oh,
yeah,
is that what you mean by develop, like a sexual attraction?
I meant like physically.
I
didn't
mean that, but
yeah,
maybe sexually. Were you early?
I was. I remember, like, nursery. There was this boy. His name was Tal Zaxenberg, and I was in love with him up until 6th grade. He's gay, and he had a crush on. There was like 3 other girls in my grade. He had a crush on the tomboy, who I believe is bisexual now. And at the time I was like, what does he see in her that he doesn't see in me? And I think he, like, because she was such a tomboy, he was like attracted to the manliest woman, and I pined after this kid. So at the age of 3, I like wanted to kiss him. I remember, but I didn't have my period and stuff and like develop physically until.
But I didn't have my period, so I couldn't kiss him. No.
I mean, like by developed, like not until later, but like always had a sexual drive.
Yeah. No, I was always so horny. I always wanted to be loved. I really, like, my parents would make fun of as like a toddler in my stroller. I would cross my legs, do sexy eyes, like I'd make them really like low, and I'd go, hi. And they'd always go, oh, Remy would say in this like sexy voice, like, hi. And like I had like a little boyfriend, like when I was like 3, he bought me flowers to my ballet recital. I was always like giving back tickles and like scissoring with my friends on like sleepovers.
I can't.
I totally relate to that. When I was growing up, I would like balance on one leg on like chairs and stuff, and like it would make I would make me horny. And I remember my mom asking me about it, and I was like, it makes me feel like I have to pee when I don't have to pee.
That's so cute.
It's wild.
But you weren't fully coming.
No,
it was
I
just
had
the
no
fun
idea
feeling.
what I was doing. Yeah, but I also remember being like young before I knew what sex was, and even having like kinky fantasies and not understanding what they were.
Same.
Like I would do that balancing thing, and I would imagine people watching me, or that if I touched my legs to the ground too soon, I would get in trouble and get like spanked. And those are like fantasies I have now. So.
I
Such a little
drew a
exhibitionist.
naked book of me, my friend Arielle Kaplan, this guy Harry Enton, who's now on CNN, and Jim Garvey, and we were all in the same kindergarten class, and I drew like basically a full book of just different pictures of all 4 of us naked, and like I'm only realizing like maybe you've been into group stuff for a while.
Are you into group stuff?
Yes. I mean, I've like, whenever it was like people hooking up, like I always thought it was fun if there were other people in the room. You know?
It is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, actually, Lorrae and I met at
a sex club.
NSFW at a sex club, watching 2 people fuck in a jail cell.
Yeah. I think we were watching somebody get his ass eaten too. I was like, I've never seen this live.
Yeah.
Great.
Wait, you just randomly met there, or did you like know who you were from Instagram?
We had known each other from Instagram.
Yeah.
But we hadn't
I
chatted
think
really
Melissa,
fun.
like one of the
knew of each other.
women at NSFW was like, "You're both here. You should talk."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Hi, I love you. We should go look at these people eating each other's asses."
That's an amazing bonding story. Wow.
It was an amazing bonding story.
That was so great. That was when you were just starting your podcast. I think you had just done season 1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
And that was the night I sat on a motor bunny, and I let my friend Betsy turn it up to like 11, and she thought it was like this intimate experience, and I was just sitting there being like, "No, this isn't gonna work."
Ooh, I listened to that episode while I was working out. I remember that one.
Nice.
I'm getting emails now again for sex parties opening in the city. Do you guys know the Labyrinth?
Mm-mm.
I've never been to one of these. I like signed up for it mad long ago when I was still with my ex, and now I'm just getting them again, and I'm like, damn,
I love sex
I don't-
parties. I host
I don't feel like it's good for now.
Yeah.
You host a sex
I host
party?
virtual ones right now on Saturdays. So it's like it's a video chat room, and there's performers and couples.
I'm
come.
down
Oh,
with
it's
that.
so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Because also, like, we're still in a pandemic, and like, as much as I want people to be fucking willy-nilly, like, I really don't.
Yeah.
I
it's
really
not
don't even
safe.
want people like, it's not.
Well, even the ones that I've
best.
seen open were having like where you could only sleep with whoever you came with. So it was like splitting people up. But
Oh.
they did that for a couple weeks and then closed because it's not safe.
Yeah, you're
it's
still
like,
all in the
you
same
can wear
room.
a mask
Yeah.
and then a jizz
Though I
guard.
do like that the CDC or whatever, it was like glory holes are the way to go. I can get behind that.
I said that day one.
Wait, they did not say glory hole.
They did.
Yeah.
They said it was a good option.
Yeah, to get creative with walls between you, which we all know what that means.
Oh my god. I only
said
knew about the
get kinky.
masturbating thing.
Yeah, I think they actually said get kinky too.
Get kinky.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
turn her around. Don't look at that face.
Oh, I have a thing for gas masks now. When the protests started happening, I was out all the time at them, and there's just something about someone like in a cop's face with a gas mask that just like gets me wet. I like really love it. Like yell at a cop.
Yeah, there's
like,
gonna
yes.
protester
You hear that,
roleplay.
boys? This setting is so hot.
Wait, now that we're talking about glory holes, this is it's a clunky segue, but it makes me think of fucking through a sheet, because that was a myth for Hasidic and Orthodox Jews for a while. And I did just want to bring up, there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on. Nick Cannon just got fired because he said that, well, he said a few things. And Gabrielle, do you want to chime in?
Listen, like, I mean, like, as a Jew of color, particularly as like a Black Jew specifically, like, there's a lot of taught anti-Semitism that happens in like the African American community that like people don't even realize like that they like are being taught, but it's like a lot of it has to do with like, you see, like I used to live in Brooklyn, and like most of the anti-Semitism like I would experience would be from other Black people. So because at the time I was like more visibly Jewish, like meaning that like I used to wear like a kippah. No, I used to wear a kippah.
You took that one
That's
little
so hot to
curl
me.
and
I
brought
was
it.
gonna say, just bring it all the way down.
Just bring. Gabrielle has this one curl he plays with.
Either when I'm feeling sexy or when I'm feeling tired.
Yeah, it's a different type of twiddle, but it's the same twiddle.
So you don't wear a kippah anymore?
No, I don't. Because I stopped feeling safe. I mean, now I live here, so I could if I wanted to, but yeah, like there's a lot of it has to do with, again, this the system that we live in puts different marginalized people against each other to make them believe that the other marginalized group is the reason why they're unable to access certain things. But really it all just plays into like white Christian hegemony. There's also, because a lot of it is also, I mean, we have to understand like where this idea of like conflating like African American history with the history of Jews comes from. And it's because a lot of African Americans found solace and hope in the stories of Jews being freed from bondage, right? This comes from slavery, right? So there's just a lot of miseducation. There's a lot of misinformation, and it's basically all BS to like keep marginalized people marginalized.
So that we fight amongst ourselves and not the power in the system.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I don't even know if it's like just in Black communities that there's anti-Semitism taught. I think there's anti-Semitism taught everywhere. And what was strange and disheartening about Nick Cannon, but anybody making anti-Semitic comments right now while another revolution is going on, it's just like, you're taking weight away from what you're saying. If you're saying we demand equality, but those people don't, then you're just thinking about yourself, and then that's totally shifting. Like, and Jews and Black people have a long-standing history of actually really uplifting each other.
For sure.
They do, but they also don't, and that's something I've been reckoning with. And so I just left my full-time job at a Jewish media company. So for the past 2 years, I've been working there, and I went to a Jewish day school, but I've learned way more about Jews of color now than I have during my 14 years of school. And
I didn't know that there were Asian Jews and Black Jews and brown Jews and Jews
You're Ashkenazi, I'm assuming?
I'm actually half and half. I'm Sephardic and Ashkenazi.
And so there is bias right here that I'm like, you look Ashkenazi to me, so I just assumed. And I didn't know any if there was other.
Sorry.
And what's frustrating right now is that I don't want to have to be talking about anti-Semitism and fighting it when I want to be focusing on, and everybody should be focusing on, Black Lives Matter and that movement. But during the pandemic, anti-Semitism has skyrocketed. And it's like, I have to talk about anti-Semitism. We had the Shein controversy 2 weeks ago, which was only so blown up because of other little tiny things, because Urban Outfitters and like a bunch of other stores do this kind of shit all the time. So if you don't know about it, Shein like posted a Buddhist swastika, which is different than a Nazi swastika, but people don't know that. I didn't know it. So
Hitler got the swastika from that, and then he just flipped it.
I feel like there's no reason that they should be posting that, period. Like,
I don't know how things get past entire rooms of people. You know, like the way that bad movies get made or whatever. Like, I'm like, a bunch of people sat around and everybody just said yes.
Yeah. The Kendall Jenner Pepsi commercial. Like,
everybody was like, brilliant. Yeah. Yes, she will save us.
With the Nick Cannon thing, just if listeners aren't aware, so he was on a podcast and basically he was praising Louis Farrakhan. I don't remember how to pronounce his name. And
Farrakhan.
He's very anti-Semitic and also a Black Power leader. I don't know how I would say that. He's
Louis
not a
Farrakhan
Black
is the founder of the Nation of Islam, which is, it's like they're Muslim, but it centers like Black experience. I guess a lot of people who were Nation of Islam are now just, you know, normal Sunni Muslims. I think I hear it mostly from white people. Louis Farrakhan is like an interesting character because yes, he is anti-Semitic and he's not a horrible person. Like what he's done for Black people is in some ways great. I think he's misogynist. I think he's an anti-Semite, and like there's also things that he's done for the community that I appreciate. I don't love it.
Like when the people who are doing great shit are also doing terrible shit, I'm like, you're a shithead. Yeah. Like it's like I got mad at those male comedians who are like, yes, Black Lives Matter, but everybody who's talking about sexual assault is a liar. And I'm like, wait, no. Like, can you be nice to all of us?
Well, it's hard to pick and choose when someone does do something great for someone else, but then you have to hold them accountable for the other things. But I want to, back to Nick Cannon. So he said stuff about him. He also perpetuated some stereotypes about Rothschild and family and Jewish people, like being money hungry and
controlling the media.
Yeah, and like just perpetuating really horrible stereotypes about us. And so
which, like, if we controlled the media, as a meme I saw said, wouldn't a Jew be playing Miss Maisel?
Wait, I actually really like Rachel Brosnahan though. So like super complicated, and I don't know. Like,
I don't love it.
I don't love it. I don't love that Zachary Levi isn't either.
Do you think that people can only play the people?
Like, no, but I think that people should let us tell our own stories, right? Especially if it's centering Jewish experience, which that particular show does.
But a Jewish person did make the show.
Sure. And like, you know, I would also probably have a conversation with them about their casting. But like, it's the same thing of like, why would Halle Berry like need to play a trans man when there's plenty of like talented like trans actors? When you're telling us, I think it would be fine if she was just Jewish and like that wasn't like a part of the story that was being told, but it was very much a part of the story that was being told.
Like whenever somebody finds out that I'm an Upper East Side comedian, they're like, "You're Miss Maisel," you know, and I'm like, "Actually, I'm not. Rachel Brosnahan is."
Okay, I agree with you guys. Or
thank you.
I see your point. Yeah. No, I've been struggling with it. Like I don't know what I believe in all that, but I am thinking like
thing, right? Like we're not a monolith, and like a lot of people, like we are allowed to have different opinions as Jews. About
but I wasn't. Like, I agree with you saying like because it was about someone being Jewish, like it should. But if it was just like a side thing, maybe it doesn't really matter. And so that's a good point. that I see. And so thank you
Yeah.
for raising it.
But back to Nick Cannon. Yeah.
Nick Cannon apologizes after he got his show taken away. And then I saw his apology. I liked it.
I liked his apology, yeah.
I saw Sarah Silverman liked it. And then I talked about it with my siblings. And I was like, you know, what do you think about him? And they're like, he's an anti-Semite, Nick Cannon. And I think the thing is, you can apologize. You can put out a good apology. That's a good start. But everyone who fucks up needs time to prove that they are changing. And so I can't judge him right now.
And it's really like,
I need to give him
it's
time.
a process of learning and unlearning, because like all of our oppression is connected, and people not recognizing that, it's really difficult. People have asked me like, well, why are you talking about Black Lives Matter? You talk about sex. And it's like, well, not only is it the right thing to do and like a humanitarian crisis, and like, you know, we need to be showing up, but you know, it is about sex positivity and our sexual health, because, you know, trans Black women are the most targeted for violence. And like, you know, all of this oppression is connected, including anti-Semitism. So to not recognize that, I feel like it's just often just scapegoating the problem to keep us infighting.
Yeah, and exactly. We were talking about this amongst the How Come team the other day. It reminds me of like Animal Farm. Did you guys read Animal Farm when you were in high school? Where it's like all of the animals, initially they're like 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. But then they learn that 2 legs is good. So then it's like, okay, who can be most like the 2 legs? And then we put down the other 4 legs or whatever. And it just is, it keeps the people in power because we're so busy fighting each other and putting each other down. And giving them more ammo to be like, these people are crazy.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, our oppression kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know if you guys saw the 13th documentary on Netflix that talks about it with the criminal justice system. I think about it a lot with sexuality too, because like I had this rhetoric of what a slut is. And then once I became a slut the first time, then it's like, you know, a downhill trajectory from there. You feel like you just don't have any hope to recover. People have already painted you a certain way. And then, you know, on one hand, you can try to prove them wrong, but a lot of times you're just kind of like, fuck it, I'll just be what I am then. Like you're gonna think bad about me either way.
Half the time it's people's problems with us aren't even about us. It's like something that they see in us that like they have trouble with accepting them about themselves or something.
What people think of me is none of my business, right? It really isn't, because you can't please everybody all the time, but you can become a person that pleases you.
Yeah.
You know, like I've spent so much time being like, does this person like me? Does that person think I'm a hypocrite? I'm like, what do you think, Remy? Do you think you're a hypocrite? I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, okay, donate to Food Bank New York. And then I'm like, okay. You know, like fight with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. But I did want to read Nick Cannon's apology, just because I think both of us, we were like, oh, that's nice. So he said, first and foremost, I extend my deepest and most sincere apologies to my Jewish sisters and brothers for the hurtful and divisive words that came out of my mouth during my interview with Richard Griffin. They reinforce the worst stereotypes of a proud and magnificent people. I feel ashamed of the uninformed and naive place these words came from. The video of the interview has since been removed. While the Jewish experience encompasses more than 5,000 years, and there is so much I have yet to learn, I have at least a minor history lesson over the past few days, and to say it is eye-opening would be a vast understatement. I want to express my gratitude to rabbis, community leaders, and institutions who reached out to me to help enlighten me. Instead of chastising me, I want to assure my Jewish friends, new and old, that this is only the beginning of my education. I am committed to deeper connections, more profound learning, and strengthening the bond between our two cultures today and every day going forward.
It's good, but it sounds really polished. Like he must have a great PR team, because it's like he still said it. Like I'm all about forgiveness and retribution and, you know, people doing the right thing, and people can change and come around and be better, but like it was a quick apology and you still said it. Like you need time to relearn.
I'd like to see it.
I would like to see it too, but as somebody who like, I do understand, like I've gone on podcast networks that are so fucking right wing, because I'm like, okay, this is like me being a missionary or whatever, and I understand the sensation of getting wrapped up when people are talking about conspiracy theories or whatever and just wanting to like, it's not good, and it points out a weakness in your character, honestly, like when you're able to adapt to that stuff. And I noticed that in like I wasn't adapting to stuff anymore, and I just stopped going on those podcasts.
Yeah, to almost go
It's
against your own. They want you to go against your own values and belief systems to trip up your words to prove your point. I didn't listen to the whole podcast episode, so was that what was going on, where there was kind of like leading questions where they were trying to provoke these responses?
I think it was just like, ooh, we're figuring out conspiracies and we're figuring stuff out, and it's learning and it's interesting, but you don't realize in the moment that like the learning and the interesting is actually like pretty fucking offensive.
And also not real. Like, where are you getting your facts from?
His wording in the apology was really interesting. It sounds like there was some sort of learning or revelation that he's had over the past few days, probably like from people reaching out to him and talking to him about like Jewish peoplehood, which I think is like also a source of a lot of anti-Semitism, is this lack of acknowledgement, which comes from like a place of like ignorance, just because like people just genuinely don't know that like Jews are an ethno-religious group and not just a religious group. And I think a lot of mistakes happen when that like piece of knowledge isn't.
What does that mean though? Like
So an ethno-religious group, so Jews aren't the only ethno-religious group, but there's also people like the Yazidis, the Druze. Jews are just one of them, but an ethno-religious group is a group of people that have like a shared ethnicity, so shared genetic history, shared cultural history, but there's a religion attached to that particular ethnicity. Yes, you can convert to become Jewish and become a part of the Jewish people, but there are also ethno-religious, but most of the Jewish people are also ethnically Jewish. And there are some ethno-religious groups where you cannot convert to be, like, for example, the Druze, which are a large population here in Israel and Lebanon and Syria as well. They're an ethnic group with their own specific religion. Yeah.
You guys, my headphones are about to die, so I was just looking for the plugins, which I don't have. So
it's okay. We're gonna wrap up soon anyway. But he also said, I want to express gratitude who reached out to help enlighten me instead of chastising me, which was kind of being like, you have to be nice to me, I'm learning. And it's like, no, like people's first thing is to chastise, and like I think like that, and like it doesn't win arguments.
Yeah, and if you're chastised, you shouldn't be like, no, don't bully me. It's like, no, that's your opportunity to step up and grow. And I feel like people use that a lot to police how oppressed groups are supposed to respond. And if you are responding in anger or, you know, upset feelings that are totally valid for you to have, that's somehow not valid anymore. And it's like, no, we're allowed to be angry.
I faced a lot of backlash for things that I said that weren't PC, that I was still learning. And I think setting my platform up with the intention that I want people to call me out has helped me grow and welcome constructive feedback much better. And people feel comfortable also coming to me sometimes in a kinder way, being like, hey, I'm sure you didn't mean it like this, but X and X and X. And it had to work to get to a place to be there. And it is always hard to receive constructive feedback because you might not view it as constructive, but everyone fucks up, and you just have to like know that and be willing to
I love
learn.
Hearing you say that. Yeah, I love both of those approaches, and I adopt so much the same. I'm like, please call me out, and like I want to learn and grow and be better, and I'm not always going to get it right. And I feel like people see the humility in that and the desire to actually change versus the defensiveness that I see so many different influencers having. And then you're like, but wait, do you really actually want to grow? Because I'm trying to help you and like make the world a better place. And it's just it ends up being empowering to be able to look at what you've done wrong and be like, okay, I'm going to be better, and it's my responsibility to be better.
Important, imperative. Remy, thank you so much for having us.
Oh my God, you guys stop it.
Sluts and whores
amazing
unite.
conversation.
I love it.
sluts and whores. And like, if you're a prude slut or you're a prude whore, like, that's fine. Like, you're cool. Like, I hate that word, like, or not like that prude is like a bad thing either.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're allowed to be choosy.
All of it's good. If
You're allowed to be
feels good.
pansexual and picky.
Yeah.
You're allowed to be whatever you are. And I'm so lucky to know the two of you, and I like all of our listeners are so lucky that they get to see us repost your memes. And I hope everybody follows you guys. Can you both tell us where they can find you online? Arielle, go first.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Orgasmic. I'm on Twitter at Orgasmic2. And I guess my personal one is on Instagram is at Buffy Fangirl 94.
Yes, she is.
My podcast, Oral History,
Yay.
on your local streaming service.
So you can find me at SluttyGRLProbs on Instagram and on other social media. You can also find me, well, you could find me at Lorrae Jo on Instagram, but I was deactivated yesterday. So we'll see if I get that back.
No.
But I'm other places with that. I'm also on OnlyFans. And, you can get my Sex Magic ebook at my website, LorraeJo.com. It's free.
Amazing.
Woo!
Amazing.
We like free
we should have
sex
talked about
magic.
OnlyFans.
Next time.
Maybe we'll have an OnlyFans chat further down the line because a lot of people are joining OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Also, you guys, I used to run an account with Lindsay Metzelaar, who does We Met at Acme, called Stoner Girl Problems. So
I used to follow you like way back in the day.
we were also an SGP. That account is still active, but I just thought that was funny. But follow us at How Come Podcast. Go buy our merch, howcomepodcast.com. Rate, review, subscribe. And ladies, I have to ask you that I hate that I said ladies. We need a word that's like guys, but for girls.
Folks.
Folks,
yeah.
But I don't know.
Babes. I like babes.
I
I also feel like it's gender neutral.
Yeah, quarrels. I have to ask this to everybody after a sexual experience, which this has been. Arielle, did you finish?
I sure did.
Lorrae, did you finish?
I think I might have a couple times.
Oh my God, amazing. I also finished. Thank you guys so much for coming. And we'll see you next time on How
good.
Come.
Bye.
Goodbye.
It's not you, it's me.
That was so much fun,
I
you
try
guys.
so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I've still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.